His Excellency, Mr. Michel Jaro, Secretary General of World Meteorological Organization, Her Excellency, Dr. Elena Manan-Enkova, Assistant Secretary General of WMO, His Excellency, Mr. Bakit Aga, Honorable Commissioner of CEMAC, representatives of Honorable Ministers, Chair, and members of the AMCOMET task forces here present, Dr. Amos Makarau, Director of Meteorological Services, Zimbabwe, and Chair of the Expert of the African Ministerial Conference on Meteorology, Dr. Joseph Mukabana, Executive Secretary, AMCOMET Secretariat, eminent experts and permanent representatives of WMO here present, representatives of regional economic communities here present from SADC, COMESA, SENSAC, ECOWAS, EAC, ECAS, IGAD, AMU, and AUC here present, representatives of African regional institutions, ACMAD, CIMAC, Agreement here present, representatives of African Union Commission and the AMCOMET Secretariat, representatives of development partners, United Nations agencies, WMO, UNECA here present, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the Press and Media Corps, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to apologize and convey the apologies of my Honorable Commissioner, Her Excellency, Mrs. Rhoda Peace Tumisime, who would have loved to be here, but due to some urgent matters could not be here. She has delegated me to represent her, and I now read the statement on her behalf. It is a great pleasure and honor for me, on behalf of the African Union Commission, to address honorable ministers, members of the Bureau of the African Ministerial Conference on Meteorology, AMCOMET, gathered here for the meeting of the AMCOMET Bureau, convening here in Harare from 29 to 30 May 2014. Honorable Mr. Chair, let me begin first and foremost by transmitting the warm wishes of Her Excellency, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and my own personal greetings to you all. Allow me to take this opportunity to express our deep appreciations to the government and the people of Zimbabwe for hosting these meetings of the AMCOMET task forces and bureau here in Harare, and for the hospitality accorded to all our delegations and the provision of this excellent facility at our disposal. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chair, at this juncture, let me recognize and welcome all delegates, honorable ministers, chair and members of the AMCOMET Bureau, task forces, eminent experts from the member states, regional economic communities, African regional institutions, and development partners participating at this meeting. I would like to state that the great attendance at these meetings proves that the African continent is posed to the improvement of issues of meteorology, weather and climate services, including the enhancement of our national meteorological and hydrological services. Permit me also to use this forum to commend the AMCOMET Secretariat, the World Meteorological Organization, for our continued collaboration, engaging the consultants to support the AMCOMET task forces and to develop the draft implementation and resource mobilization plan, and the facilitation of the establishment of the Regional Climate Center in Central Africa in preparation for the third AMCOMET session that is scheduled to hold later this year. I further applaud the AMCOMET Secretariat and the local organizers for the tireless efforts in facilitating the organizations of these meetings here in Harare. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chair, permit me also to go down memory lane to recall that the Executive Council at the 20th session of the African Union Assembly in January 2013 adopted the decision on the report of the second session of the African Union Conference of Ministers responsible for meteorology and the African Ministerial Conference on Meteorology, AMCOMET, here in Zimbabwe, in Victoria Falls, from 15 to 19 October 2012, in one of the 7 wonders of the world, the home of our beautiful Victoria Falls. The decision of the African Union Executive Council endorsed, among other things, the Integrated African Strategy on Meteorology, Weather and Climate Services, the establishment of the task force to draft the implementation plan for the Integrated African Strategy, with detailed annual operational plans, and the drafting of the resource mobilization for the implementation plan. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chair, allow me to greatly appreciate the joint effort of the AMCOMET experts, Chair, and the AMCOMET Secretariat and the African Union that have advanced the work of the consultants of the experts and the stakeholders meeting held at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa in February 2014, and further facilitated the validation of the draft implementation plan at the levels of the regional economic communities to give opportunities to the expert and member states and regs to make inputs to the draft document, and for a buy-in leading to ownership that will facilitate effective implementation when adopted by AMCOMET 3 and the AU Summit. I have no doubt that the various meetings held in Addis Ababa, Arusha, Tanzania, Banjul, the Gambia, have helped to sensitize and advocate for the harmonization of the national and regional strategies on meteorology with the continental framework, the Integrated African Strategy on Meteorology, Weather and Climate Services. It has also facilitated progress on the establishment of the Regional Climate Center in Central Africa and further advanced the validation of the implementation plan. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chairman, the convening of the meeting of the AMCOMET task forces and bureau are at a very strategic time, because the African Union Commission is has just hosted the AU Conference of Ministers of Agriculture, Rural Development, Fisheries, Aquaculture this month, and also commemorated the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the Organization of the African Unity, OAU, predecessor to the African Union, AU, under the theme Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. And the meeting held also in Abuja on the African Regional Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction at ministerial level last week, in preparation for the 3rd United Nations World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. This will also help in the post-20 Yogo framework for action for disaster risk reduction. Indeed, all these collective actions of the ministerial bodies epitomizes the spirit of Pan-Africanism, and the sustenance of this effort is in line with the AU vision of an Africa that is dynamic in a global arena. Honorable Ministers, your meetings are also holding at a time we are preparing for the next half-century of African Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And Africa is further currently commemorating the 10th year of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, CAADP. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chairman, the implementation of the Integrated African Strategy on Meteorology, Weather and Climate Services cannot be underscored, as it would help to improve the generation of climate information in Africa, enhance the capacity of our national meteorological and hydrological services to support the monitoring of drought, floods, weather, climate, fisheries, rangeland, forests, and others as a tool for climate change adaptation and mitigation. Permit me also to state that your deliberations at this strategic period in time will also come up with quality actions that will further strengthen the African Group of Negotiators on Climate Change, AGN, in the run-up to the 20th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP20, that is scheduled to take place in December 2014 in Lima, Peru. And in addition, contribute to improving climate-sensitive centers, improvement of the livelihood of African teeming population, the post-2015 Sustainable Development Targets, and socio-economic development of the African continent. I wish to recognize the work of the 3 task forces, the chairpersons, rapporteurs, presenters, consultants, and all delegates in the past 3 days, and for the valuable recommendations that will be submitted during this Bureau meeting. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to inform you that the AU Commission will be convening the first meeting of the Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment in 2015, and I'll be notifying you in due course of the proposed STC meeting. Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chairman, permit me to conclude by assuring you all of the full commitment of the African Union Commission to support the activities of AMCOMET, the implementation of the Integrated African Strategy on Meteorology, Weather and Climate Services, the implementation and resource mobilization plan, the establishment of the Regional Climate Center in Central Africa, the implementation of the Global Framework Services in Africa, and also when it is adopted by AMCOMET 3 and endorsed by the AU Summit. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you fruitful deliberations at the AMCOMET Bureau meeting, and I thank you all for your kind attention. Asante sana, shukran, obrigada.